Hey everybody, Nick Espinosa, your chief security fanatic here. Don't forget to subscribe. And today, we're talking about an AI emergency, like a worldwide AI emergency. And quite frankly, we're not prepared for this. Now, what really got me thinking about this was an absolutely fantastic article in Time by John Truby. I highly recommend you go read it. I will link it basically in basically my YouTube and SoundCloud channels. And quite frankly, I think everybody needs to read this. And I'm almost quoting it verbatim here. It was so well written, and I think it's so unbelievably important. But whether it's caused by something like a model manipulation or criminal use, or basically some kind of escalating cyber attack, an AI-driven crisis could basically move around the world very quickly. And I've talked about this before. If I have a data cable and I wrap it around, a fiber cable and I wrap it around the world once, and I basically give it enough power, I can move one packet of data 5 times around the globe in 1 second. That's how fast data moves. And when you were talking about all of these interconnected data centers with these massive fiber optic connections, all running our artificial intelligence backends, this could be a very real situation. And in many cases, the first signs of an AI emergency would probably look like a generic outage or a security failure. If you've ever watched, I think it was Terminator 3 or whatnot, when Skynet was slowly taking over, maybe it was the fourth one, where that was it. Just people thought, oh my God, like the internet's glitching today, the radio's glitching today, et cetera, et cetera. Well, no, that's the AI creeping in. Now, I'm not saying all of it will be that way, but that's the thing. And only later, if at all, would it even become clear that the AI systems had a material role in this situation. So some governments, companies, organizations have begun to build basically safeguards to manage the risks of this type of emergency. So the EU has the AI Act, the United States has NIST's risk framework, there's the G7 Hiroshima process for international technical standards to basically, all of these things aim to prevent harm or at least mitigate damage. Even cybersecurity agencies and infrastructure operators also have run books and playbooks for things like hacking attempts, outages, routine system failures. I put these together or help put these together during my day job, but what is missing here is not the technical playbook for restoring networks, patching servers, whatever it is. What's missing is the plan for preventing social panic and a breakdown of trust, diplomacy, and basic communication if AI basically is at the middle of a fast-moving crisis. So preventing AI, or rather an AI emergency, is only half the job here. The other half of AI governance is preparedness and response, which is true pretty much of any governance situation, right? Whether it's a local crisis, an earthquake, whatever it is, God forbid a nuclear disaster like a Chernobyl, So who decides that an AI incident has become an international emergency? Who speaks to the public when false messages are flooding their feeds? Who keeps the channels open between governments if normal lines are compromised? These are all excellent questions that John Truby is asking here. And so when he talks about how to prepare for an AI emergency, he mentions that we have seen the general model of governance before. The international health regulations allow the World Health Organization, for example, to declare a global health emergency and then coordinate action in the hotspots around the world. We just saw that during COVID. Nuclear accident treaties require rapid notification when radiation could spread across borders. We all remember Chernobyl. In the wake of that, where the Soviets tried to basically keep it under wraps, and then days later we started to get detectors, in Scandinavia, seeing this nuclear radiation coming from basically southeastern Europe, heading to northwestern Europe. So now we have more rapid response as a result of that. Telecommunications agreements clear legal barriers so emergency satellite equipment can be switched on and turned up quickly. Cybercrime conventions have set up 24/7 contact centers and points so law enforcement can cooperate on short notice when these things are discovered, and oftentimes they're discovered very quickly. These lessons show pre-agreed triggers, codenamed coordinators, fast communication channels, all save time in an emergency. And that's exactly the point, is that you prepare, you run the playbooks ahead of time. So if it's basic, like the server goes out, you know what to do. You're not wasting time. You're not having arguments. You're just moving to the action phase to stabilize whatever the situation is. And an AI emergency needs the same foundations, basically, and it has to begin with a shared definition. An AI emergency could be an extraordinary event caused by the development, use, or malfunction of an AI that risks severe cross-border harm and outstrips any single any single country's capability of actually being able to respond to this or even cope with it. Think about how integrated artificial intelligence is becoming. Crucially, it must also cover situations where AI involvement is only suspected or is one form of plausible cause so that governments can act before forensic certainty arrives, if it is able to arrive at all. Sometimes you can't wait for the forensics. If we're in the middle of a ransomware attack, we're not going to start running forensics when we have not actually fully identified and contained the threat. The goal is to contain it. We're going to identify it along the way as fast as we humanly can as well, but we don't want it to spread. Forensics comes after that. Most incidents probably are never going to reach that level, right? Agreeing the definition in advance just helps to avoid paralysis in the first few critical hours. So the question is, who then basically should oversee AI emergency preparedness initiatives? And John Truby of Time's answer is, and quite frankly, I think this is the only real answer right now, is the United Nations, right? Because placing the system within the UN structure is important, I think, and matters for several reasons. And again, he lays this out. I just can't agree with this article enough. One of that is that basically an AI emergency will not respect alliances, right? If we have adversarial nations and Iran gets hit in the same way we do, well then basically that's put to the side. Our differences should be put to the side here, right? So a UN anchored mechanism offers wider inclusion. It also reduces duplication among rival coalitions. It provides technical help to countries without advanced AI capacity, so the burden is not necessarily carried out by a handful of major powers as well. It adds legitimacy, it adds constraint. Extraordinary powers must be lawful, proportionate, and reviewable, especially when they touch digital networks used by billions of people. And he goes on to say a lot more than that, but I think that's the crux of the situation here, is that yes, we are in many ways not ready for this, but I would also argue that in many ways, a society-wide, let's say, power outage that is sustained more than 72 hours, we're not ready for that either. We don't have enough law enforcement. People get panicky. This is a huge, huge issue. There's fear, there's uncertainty, which breeds looting, rioting, shooting, violence. And in a country that is incredibly heavily armed, that is of real, real deep concern. And for those countries that have those same issues but are not heavily armed, it is still a very deep, deep concerning issue, just slightly less death. So basically, John Truby of Time did us, I think, a service with this. It's so important. I hope everybody gets a chance to read this because, quite frankly, this is one of the big issues of our time. And if we are not preparing for this, even at our own local level, meaning your household, your local neighborhood, etc., all the way up to nation states, then we're doing the world a disservice, and you should be prepared for this. I have contingency plans in my life, internally on what to do that have already been agreed upon, etc. But again, that's part of my day job, right? So I would have that planning. You should too. Don't rely on somebody else in this situation. So that is your interesting news of the day. Once again, thanks to John Truby of Time. I'll keep mentioning your name. The article is entitled "The World is Not Prepared for an AI Emergency." So my title's riffing off of his. And again, credit where credit's due. But this is a long, long overdue discussion. And thank you for starting that, Mr. Truby. And and please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at Nick AESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe, stay online, and please attempt to stay private, informed, and secure. Take care.